14 die in the nighttime crash of two Marine helicopters, the latest in a string of training fatalities. A prominent expert on Alzheimer's murdered. For what reason? At what cost? NBC News in depth tonight, adopting a baby of another race, an emotional, now political issue, no easy answers. And our American dream. One man worked hard, invested wisely, and kept a secret all these years. What was it?
From NBC News, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. It was a big deal training mission in North Carolina early this morning, Operation Purple Star, involving thousands of American and British troops. War games. Then suddenly, the real consequences of war, not games. Two Marine helicopters collided in the darkness. 14 Marines are dead tonight. We begin our coverage with NBC's Kenley Jones at the crash site.
The helicopters were taking part in Operation Purple Star, the largest U.S.-British war games in more than a decade, involving almost 54,000 troops. One of the choppers was a CH-46 Sea Knight like this one, carrying 14 Marines participating in amphibious assault maneuvers. It collided with the two-man Cobra gunship, which was flying ahead to secure a landing zone. It's not clear whether weather was a factor. The crash took place about 2 a.m. in a dense, swampy pine forest that hindered rescue operations.
The marsh was not water, but as we would call muck.
It took about 30 minutes for rescuers to reach the general site of the crash, but much longer to actually reach the aircraft. When rescuers finally reached the choppers, they found only two survivors. One, the co-pilot of the CH-46, is in stable condition, but the other, the pilot, is critically injured.
He's on the breathing machine and is unconscious. A lot of that's from paralytics and sedative medication so that we can evaluate him fully and so that he won't hurt himself.
This is a sad day.
President Clinton extended the nation's sympathy to the families of the victims.
One of the things I confess I did not fully appreciate until I became president was how dangerous the day in and day out, year in and year out work of our military, just training, just doing the defense of our country is.
As the effort to recover and identify the bodies of victims continues, military investigators are already on the scene trying to determine the cause of the crash. Kenley Jones, NBC News, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
This is Robert Hager in Washington, where military leaders are concerned about the rash of accidents. From January 29th, when two Navy flyers and 3 on the ground were killed in an F-14 crash in Nashville, to the most recent before today, 2 F-A-18s near Norfolk. In between, one of the worst in memory, the T-43, which went down in Dubrovnik, killing Secretary Ron Brown and 34 others. Today, a senior member of the House National Security Committee wondered if it's a training problem.
73% of the military crashes involved some type of human error. That's why it's important to have people always highly trained so that their judgment and their actions and reactions will be at top performance.
Since 1975, when there were 309 military air crashes, the record had been improving steadily, down to 76 last year. But 43 new crashes so far in 1996 threaten to reverse the trend and make this the most deadly of the last 4 years.
What's more, the rate of aviation accidents for the military has always been much greater than for civilian airlines. Is the military paying less attention to safety?
The plane in Dubrovnik was so lacking in safety equipment it could never have been approved to fly for a civilian airline. But some military planes are more risky by definition. Flying a fighter is like flying a rocket with wings. And there's no way to train for combat without realistic exercises, sometimes with live ammunition and mock battle at night. NBC consultant, retired General Norman Schwarzkopf.
Flying at night is going to be inherently dangerous, and obviously you do always have the problem of 2 aircraft running into each other, and it's not acceptable. It's never acceptable. Commanders should do everything they can to make sure that accidents don't occur, but every now and then human error creeps in there, and when human error creeps in, you can have severe accidents.
That or some other problem. Tonight at Camp Lejeune, it's for investigators to determine and decide whether the entire system needs fixing. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
And tonight we have news of a major foreign policy development regarding China. The State Department says it will not slap economic sanctions on China for selling nuclear technology to Pakistan, in part because China has promised it won't do it again. This also comes at a time of a growing threat of a trade war over U.S. efforts to pressure China to crack down on the pirating of U.S. products. Still ahead here on NBC Nightly News, NBC News in Depth tonight, as Congress moves to make adoption easier, the emotional struggle over white families adopting Native American children.
He hangs onto our necks and cries and says, please, Mommy, don't let him take me away.
What's best for the children, the culture, the future, the families? In Depth. Still ahead, who has the highest suicide rate in this country? We think you might be surprised.
As Surgeon General, he fought for us and warned us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Now he wants to help us through one of the most difficult moments in life. The moment you or a loved one face a serious diagnosis. C. Everett Koop and Time Life Medical are introducing individual videos with workbooks that help you better understand your medical condition.
It's really a very simple idea. No prescription is more valuable than knowledge.
Time Life Medical at your pharmacy now.
Hefty One Zip presents the hefty way to close a food bag. Only Hefty One Zip bags have the amazing One Zip slider. Closes this tight.
There's the hard way or the hefty way.
With Hefty One Zip bags.
We're proud to announce that this model not only passed that famous ball bearing test, it surpassed it. It's the Dirt Devil MVP with maximum vacuum power. Just think what it can do in your home.
Now this ought to be an interesting party. I almost hope Larry shows up.
Whatever your reason for looking great,
Probably won't even notice me.
part of getting that look should include Kellogg's Special K cereal.
Not notice this. Right.
Great toasted taste, 110 calories, and fat-free.
Eat your heart out, Larry.
Kellogg's Special K. Great taste never looks so good.
Going to kill him with kindness.
Sunao Sato is dead tonight, and his cold-blooded murder is a bizarre and tragic setback to work on Alzheimer's disease in this country. This California scientist was a great hope for victims of Alzheimer's everywhere. Here's NBC's George Lewis.
Police said today they're still baffled by the murders in a fashionable San Diego neighborhood. Sunao Sato, a world-renowned Alzheimer's disease researcher, and his 13-year-old daughter Luli gunned down in the driveway of the Sato home. Police say no one had broken into the house and that the money in Sato's wallet was untouched. So investigators have ruled out robbery as a motive for the killings, which leaves the big question, why?
We don't have any information that would lead us to a possible suspect at this point in time.
Dr. Sato, a researcher at the University of California at San Diego, was known around the world for his work on Alzheimer's disease, a devastating illness which destroys brain cells and causes memory loss. Sato had discovered a protein which plays a major role in Alzheimer's disease. He told colleagues he thought he was about 2 or 3 years away from developing a possible cure.
A few weeks ago.
Today, at this San Diego conference on Alzheimer's, organized by the university, they were calling the loss of Dr. Sato devastating.
It's a huge personal setback. It's a huge setback to Alzheimer's disease research, and because Alzheimer's is such a devastating disease, it's really a huge setback to the world's population.
A dear friend, a kind, gentle man who had a wonderful sense of humor and a ready smile, and he was just brilliant and making very important strides in the field of Alzheimer's disease research.
As Sato's colleagues worry about picking up where he left off to solve the mystery of Alzheimer's disease, police worry about the lack of clues in this major murder mystery. George Lewis, NBC News, San Diego.
Foul play was ruled out today in the death of William Colby, the former director of the CIA. His body was found Monday near his Maryland home more than a week after he disappeared while canoeing. The medical examiner says an autopsy shows that Colby likely suffered a heart attack or a stroke and then fell into the water and drowned. Across much of the Midwest, towns are becoming small lakes after a week of pounding rain and high winds. In central Illinois, dozens of homes have been evacuated. More thunderstorms are expected, making flood conditions worse from Indiana to Michigan. On Wall Street today, the Dow was up. Very heavy trading today. The NASDAQ closed above 1,200 for the first time ever. For the week, the Dow gained 40 points, the NASDAQ up 18. When we come back, NBC News in depth tonight. Adoption controversy. Native American children in happy homes with white families. Where do they really belong?
You can feel it start to burn all through here. All you can think about is getting rid of it quickly. I even tried Tagamet HB, but it didn't work fast enough. Finally, I asked my doctor, and my doctor said Mylanta. Fast-acting Mylanta was made to work fast, where heartburn hurts most. Soothing, on contact, all through here. It's so fast. It's nothing like Tagamet HB. My doctor said Mylanta.
Announcing Goodyear's Race Days Tire Sale. Save up to 25% on all Goodyear Eagles and all Goodyear Wranglers. Other Goodyear tires from $19.99. Get to Goodyear and save. And ask about InfiniTread with a lifetime Tread Life limited warranty.
Don't you wish we could just do this to air pollution? We can help. If homes and industries, power plants and vehicles would just switch to natural gas. Clean, economical natural gas. Think what we'll save.
In hospital emergency rooms, there's no time for indecision. Emergency room doctors have to rely on medicines they know to be effective and safe. And in cases of sprains and strains, the pain reliever they recommend most is Advil, not Tylenol. Doctors know that 2 Advil work better on tough pain than any 2 extra-strength Tylenol. Emergency room doctors trust Advil to safely relieve pain. Shouldn't you?
On NBC News in depth tonight, the issue is adoption, a personal issue that took center stage in the political debate in Washington today. The House passed a bill that would make it easier for middle-class families to adopt, including a proposal for a $5,000 adoption tax credit. For her part, Hillary Clinton invited several adoptive families to the White House. She was asked about a passage in her new book where she talked about having trouble getting pregnant.
You have 6 success stories here. Would you?
We thought about it, but we also kept trying for a long time, and it's something we still talk about, actually.
The bill passed by the House today would also eliminate barriers to interracial adoption. This is an issue which has been simmering among Native American and white families for years. So we begin our in-depth reporting tonight with NBC's Roger O'Neill.
Casey Swenson knew he could hold on to his kite in the strong Idaho wind. But for 5 long years, his adoptive parents didn't know if they could hold on to him, even though he's been with them since birth. Casey is half Indian, and his tribe, the Ogallala Sioux, wanted him back on the reservation. The little boy is weary of all strangers, afraid he will be taken away by what he calls the bad person.
And he hangs onto our necks and cries and says, please, Mommy, don't let him take me away.
Half a country away in Ohio, the only parents 2-year-old twins Lucy and Bridget Rost have ever known are involved in a similar tug-of-the-heart struggle.
Can't live on a day-to-day basis, with that fear, that uncertainty. Certainly we treasure every moment that we have them with us.
We have good days and we have bad days,
The Rost have spent more than $300,000 trying to keep the twins, who are only 1/64th Indian. The Swensons $250,000. In both cases, the natural parents gave the children up. It is the tribes, not the natural parents, who want them back. In 1978, Congress passed the Indian Child Welfare Act. It gave the nation's 538 tribes almost absolute power in dealing with Indian children. The act stopped the wholesale stripping by state child welfare agencies of more than 50,000 young Native Americans from reservations. Caroline Cooney works for the Ogallala Sioux tribe in South Dakota.
I think it's vital for children to grow up knowing who they are and to know their culture and to know their people.
Children who are returned often live with grandparents, aunts, or uncles. Extended family who Indians consider as important as mothers and fathers.
It's been a hard concept for the white man to accept, especially in the 40 or so cases where Caucasian parents thought they had legally adopted Indian children, only to be challenged years later.
That prompted the House of Representatives today to strip away some of the tribe's power. Ohio Republican Deborah Price sponsored the controversial legislation.
We have lost sight of what is in the best interest of children involved. Children are not chattel,
Madam Speaker, nor are they the personal property of Indian tribes.
If the bill survives and becomes law, the 2-year struggle by the Roths in Ohio might be over. For the Swensons in Idaho, Casey will stay with them. The tribe recently gave up its fight to get him back. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Nampa, Idaho.
Now to one woman's experience. Rosetta Carroll, White Mountain, was born on a South Dakota Sioux reservation and became one of thousands of the Native American children forced into foster care before the Indian Child Welfare Law was passed. She was raised by a white family, and today, at the age of 37, she feels cheated. Her story tonight, in her own words.
My name is Rosetta Carroll White Mountain, and I come from the Hunkpapa Band of Lakota. I was placed in foster care due to my mother's alcohol problem and the fact that she was not married at the time. I have to say, I'm angry at the United States government. I mean, what gives them the right to come in and say, just because you're raising your child in a different way or your standard of living is not what we think it should be, that this child should not live there? I missed out on a great deal. I don't know my language. And to know my language would give me a better understanding of the ceremonies back home, the stories, the songs, our religion. I was raised by a non-Indian family and have had to go home and make that journey back to my people, back to my culture, to be able to even converse with my grandmother, who was very important to me. And I couldn't imagine my life without her. And these amendments to this law will keep other children from knowing their extended family. I'd like to close by saying, Unchieta washte chilakia mitakwiyase. That means, Grandma Etta, I love you, all my relations.
Rosetta Carroll White Mountain tonight, in her own words. When we come back, record numbers of elderly suicides, the danger signs for someone that you love. And still to come tonight, the American dream. Think this man just won the lottery? Well, there is a big payoff, but it's not exactly what you think.
Yes, these dollars.
You have heartburn. Your stomach is dripping with harsh, burning acid. Which way out? Well, you can take these every few hours, or you can take one Zantac 75. It helps prevent acid production for up to 12 hours. One Zantac 75 controls acid longer than 8 Tums Ultra or 12 teaspoons of Mylanta DS. And you thought there was no way out.
Zantac 75, the final word in acid relief.
How helpful are Ace Hardware dealers during Helpful Hardware Days? Well, maybe not that helpful, but they will give you a little extra help at some extra big savings. You can't help but notice, Ace is a place with the Helpful Hardware folks.
Well, we're here with tropical fish dealer Rudy Laszlo, who thinks his zipper bags are fine and won't switch to Gladlock zipper bags.
That's correct.
Rudy, what do you say we drop these piranhas here into your little fish heaven?
Nope.
Sealed in either your bag or the Gladlock bag with the yellow and blue make green seal, which means the bag is closed. Your bag doesn't have a green seal.
These are my little friends. Use the Gladlock.
When it really counts, get Gladlock. Can you hear that? They're applauding you. Rudy, Rudy, Rudy.
This stain didn't hold up.
You used the wrong stain. Thompson's water-sealed deck stain is made tough just for decks. 50 scuff-resistant colors, plus the superior waterproofing power of Thompson's. Thompson's is protection.
These folks live just below the Arctic Circle in Alaska, but their gardens look like a tropical paradise.
Here in Alaska, my hobby is growing world record vegetables like this one, and I use Miracle Grow and only Miracle Grow.
When I first moved to Alaska, I thought I'd have to give up gardening, but with Miracle Grow, my garden's better than ever.
If Miracle Grow can get results like those in Alaska, just imagine what it can do in your garden. And Miracle Grow is so easy to use with the no-clog feeder.
Good evening, I'm Christine Zach. Weather across central Illinois is mixed with tornadoes and thunderstorms. In Marshall County, a family's picking up after a tornado hit their home last night. We'll have their story. Also, how safe is our food supply? Vokay Parker looks at that issue in a special report. News 25 at 6 coming up next.
This is National Suicide Awareness Day in this country, an event marked by rallies and meetings at Capitol Hill. One big part of this issue, the skyrocketing rate of suicide among the country's elderly, the highest rate of any age group now, and most who do commit suicide are not seriously ill. Why is this happening? Here's NBC's Betty Rollin.
Joyce Michael worked all of her life and raised 6 children. She wound up in her late 60s alone, poor, and wanting to die.
Felt like I was just useless, and there wasn't no use in being here.
With all the cheery images of older Americans in the media, people like Joyce Michael are often invisible. Elderly depression that leads to death has become a major health problem in this country. A recent report by the Centers for Disease Control found that nearly 20% of all suicides are committed by people 65 and older. The preferred method, using guns.
And that's because when seniors try to kill themselves, they mean it. Their rate of success is 50 times greater than that of the general population. In fact, senior citizens have the highest suicide rate of any age group. The reasons?
Depression is the largest one. Social isolation is another. Alcohol abuse and alcoholism are another major risk factor.
Family members and healthcare professionals alike often fail to see the warning signs, which may include giving away possessions, refusing food and medication, and withdrawing from family and friends.
When do you start to say, this person may be at risk of suicide?
But at medical schools like the University of Miami, students are now being taught how to recognize and treat serious depression among the elderly before it turns deadly.
I do have a list that I want to discuss with you together.
Peer counseling programs like this one in Arizona are proving effective because seniors are often more comfortable talking to other seniors. Joyce Michael just needed to feel useful again.
Getting tired.
She entered a job training program and became a home care worker.
I know this sounds funny, but I feel now like I'm just as good as anybody else is.
With the graying of baby boomers, experts predict that the number of elderly suicides will increase. How to prevent that from happening? Notice signs of depression and take them seriously. Betty Rollin, NBC News, New York.
Now to NBC News Online, what else we're talking about tonight. Echoes of Vietnam in Washington. When the Vietnam Memorial was dedicated almost 14 years ago, it was like the war itself, controversial and divisive. Now, of course, it has become a place for healing, visited by more than 1 million people each year. 263 names have been added to the wall since the dedication, including men injured in Vietnam who died years later as a result of their wounds. Today, some new additions. The total number of names on the wall now, 58,202, and tragically, we're still counting. I'll be back with our Friday look at the American dream when we return.
If it's Saturday night, it's steak night. That's just the way it's always been.
And I always use my favorite steak sauce.
It's tradition.
What? Yeah, sometimes I'm in the mood for something different.
Something rich,
Robust. Something zesty.
hearty. It's there, and it's great.
A steak sauce for me? You serious?
Can you do that?
Yeah, all right.
New A1 Thick and Hearty. Try it now at Subway on a steak and cheese sub.
Breyers has created a spectacular dessert called Viennetta. But this delicious premium ice cream with its crispy, chocolatey layers could cause one small problem. Viennetta from Breyers. One slice is never enough.
You burn your lawn, your neighbors see it. I burn this, millions see it. Me, I use Scott's.
Turf Builder's mistake-proof granules ensure even feeding and prevent burning. For a thicker, greener lawn, guaranteed, use Scott's Turf Builder.
Tonight at Red Lobster, it's lobster and 18 shrimp, just $12.99. Luscious rock lobster, succulent scampi, crispy golden shrimp. 3 great tastes on one plate. Hurry, lobster and 18 shrimp, just $12.99 at Red Lobster.
You know what I hate? Pain. That's why I love Aspirin. When I get minor muscle aches, I just rub it in for fast relief that lasts for hours. And it's odor-free. Why live with pain? You're gonna love it. Aspirin does not contain aspirin.
You can still smell the coffee brewing every morning. You can still hear kids being called to the table. And you can still taste the simple goodness of Kellogg's Corn Flakes. The best things in life never change. You gotta make it a great day.
Locked away inside military files, crimes against women and children. Is there a cover-up going on inside the armed forces? A revealing Dateline investigation tonight.
It's Friday. It's time for the American Dream. And tonight, we have the classic tale of a man who grew up poor, worked hard, and realized his dream. But his dream was not about a fancier home or a larger car or longer vacations. His dream was a secret. And as a result, his dream is the best kind. It's a shared dream. For 56 years, Matt Dawson has earned a living by the sweat of his brow, laboring long and hard as a rigger for the Ford Motor Company. He's 75 years old, but he has no plans to retire.
I haven't given it a thought. In fact, I'm thinking about doing another 56 years.
All these years at the plant, he's had a secret.
I know what to do with $1. I know where to invest it.
Yes, he does.
I've talked to a lot of people. I run into a lot of professional people's doctors, lawyers, and so on like that, and they volunteer admit, say, you doing better than I'm doing.
Smart investments, lots of overtime, have made Matt Dawson a wealthy man, something no one knew until he started giving away his hard-earned money.
They had an article in the paper, and they detailed how much money he had donated during the year to different charities, and I was really shocked. I didn't realize that he had that much money.
Dawson says he learned the value of hard work and the value of $1 growing up in Louisiana. His mother took in laundry and sewing. His father began by washing dishes at a public hospital and worked his way up to chief cook. Dawson had to leave school after 8th grade to help support the family. Now, he's making it possible for other young people to get the education he never had. This week, Dawson donated $200,000 to Wayne State University. Last year, $30,000 more. Over the years, almost $250,000 to the United Negro College Fund. Wayne State honored him this week with an honorary degree, Doctor of Humane Letters.
And I want to impress on you young ladies and young men's mind to continue to go forward for higher education. And I'll be around to support you. May God bless you. I love you. I wanted to be recognized and outstanding. I never wanted to be at the bottom of nothing.
And so, as Matt Dawson enters his second 56 years on the job, he knows all of this hard work has really paid off.
I've contributed something to society, and I've given something back.
And we're very happy to be just a small part of the recognition for Matt Dawson, which is so richly deserved. He does have a daughter and a grandson of his own. How much is he really worth? He won't say, but he does acknowledge that it's close to $1 million. That's Nightly News for Friday. Tonight on Dateline NBC, a mystery in warm waters. What's killing so many manatees? That's Dateline tonight at 9, 8 Central Time. I'm Tom Brokaw. Brian Williams will be here tomorrow night. Meet the press on Sunday, and I'll see you back here on Monday night.
The world is now watching the NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.